Okay.
Do you want me to look?
Well, it's
I'm gonna look on YouTube.
1:59 p.m. here. Actually, it's 2 p.m. Hello, everyone. This is Ameze, your girl on AMZ TV. On YouTube. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. With me today, I have wonderful friends, close friends, people I've known over the years, but also powerful people. You know me and my guests, right? So without further ado, I'm actually going to bring them in. But before that, today we're going to be discussing domestic violence and why in heaven's name are we having this problem? It's like a topic, it's a problem that is not going away. You tune onto Instagram, you tune onto Facebook or any of the social media platforms, you are going to see all these things going on. Men killing men, women killing, men killing women, women killing men. At what point do you say to yourself, okay, this relationship is not working, we've got to move on? So with me to discuss this important topic today is let me go ahead and pull up my panel. So I've got okay, we're gonna fix this. Yes, there I have powerful filmmaker Mr. Ruke Amata. You're welcome, sir.
Hello. Should I say good evening or good afternoon? Where I am is evening, so good evening.
It's afternoon here in the United
So
States.
wherever you are,
yeah. Thank you for coming in. For those of you who have been following my channel, you all know Ruke, you've met him. He's usually the man we throw into the female panel, and he normally holds his own. So I'm sure there'll be some answers coming to you today, sir. Some questions. And then next in line is, I'm bringing in Miss Stella Aduba, a computer consultant, IT consultant. Hello.
Hi, how you doing? So nice to be here today to discuss this powerful topic.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. And then she's new on my channel, but then this won't be the last time you're going to see her, because she's someone who, she can be opinionated, but that's fine. She stands her ground. She has opinions, and she will say, I'm talking about you, Stella.
That's what I've been known to have. To be called bossy. I've been known to be called cantankerous, but I don't care as long as I'm on the right side.
Right.
I will do whatever it takes to get it done.
Right.
That's my personality.
And I have my friend here, which again, you all know her, and this is Miss Uwa Oghagbon. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, hey.
How are you?
I'm good. So nice to be here.
Powerful IT consultant too. So we have two IT consultants in the house and a filmmaker. Two filmmakers. Okay, it's balancing. It's balancing. Yeah. So, Uwa, it's nice to have you again.
Yes, nice to see you all. Stella, nice to see you.
Same here.
Nice to see you.
So we are going to be talking about domestic violence. So I'm just going to start with the man first, because he's eager to go. We have some people joining us. Esther, you're welcome. And Abia, you are. Day. Oh my God. Thank you guys. Thank you for all the support. I appreciate this. Thank you for coming. So we're going to go to Ruke Amata. If I didn't mention it before, he's part of that powerful Amata dynasty. They're just ruling and, shaking the Nollywood industry in and outside Nigeria. Ruke, you're welcome. So tell, what is this domestic violence? What is going on? Why are you guys just beating up women?
Well, I think that's the wrong way to start. Domestic violence, not male violence. Because I have a friend who used to be what word should I use, for want of a better word, beaten by his wife.
Okay.
So and that's domestic violence. It doesn't have to be male to female. Beaten by his wife. It happens everywhere.
Okay.
So and that's domestic violence. It doesn't have to be male to female beaten by his wife.
Somebody has their YouTube channel on.
So and that's domestic violence. It doesn't have to be male to female.
Okay.
Yeah, I was having some feedback. I don't know where that's coming from.
Right. I think we're fine now. Keep going.
So for me, like I was telling my sons, I don't see any reason whatsoever why a man should raise his hand to hit a woman. First things first. No matter how much you are pushed, no matter how much you are, well, what should I use? There's no cause, there's no reason why a man should hit a woman. The same way, there's no reason why a woman should hit a man. We are no longer savages. We are no longer children. We've moved away from that. So violence in whatever guise, in whatever phase, whatever you want to call it, I do not subscribe to violence. I'm a lover, not a fighter, according to Michael Jackson.
Okay. So no matter what, it doesn't matter what the woman does, because some people will say it's the women that bring it on. The women just, they talk too much. They push the man, so they get the man provoked, and so that's why the man will lash out.
Yeah, provocation. I know provocation. You can argue provocation, but no. Because the problem with violence and provocation like that, there's no gauge to the amount of violence you can resort to. So there's nobody to tell you when to stop if you start. So that's why you find out that some men go the whole hog and actually kill the women, and some women go as far as emasculating men, chopping them up to pieces and keeping them. So in whatever guise, violence is a no for me.
So, well, can we go back to the beginning though, and ask why does it even start in the first place? So why
does it start?
domestic violence? Why? I mean, what starts it? Because I hear you when you're saying that, hey, it's not acceptable, but how does it start? I mean, for me, from what I know, like from experience and things I've had, it's usually the men. Usually, I'm not saying it's always. So, Ruke, I'm not trying to. It's usually the men. It's usually it's an issue of control. You know, somebody wants control over somebody else, whether financially, whether physically, or But it's an issue of control sometimes. And of course, you say women. We talk back, and we are provoking provoking the guys. But the truth is that something is causing that provocation. So somebody is trying to control one person and the person doesn't like it and they're pushing back and that causes the issue. So it's usually some kind of control that starts the process. And that and like Amy was saying, look, Amanda was saying, how do you know when to stop? Because how do you know that this is becoming too much? I'm getting too angry as a man. I can't stand it any longer. This person needs to go. I need to go. But the point is that even when the women, when they leave, they leave the marriage, they leave the relationship, the men still come after them. They do. Like even in the case of the pastor that Amanda was talking about, the woman had left. She was gone from the relationship, but the man still came after her and killed her. So we really need to go back and talk about, why men are so controlling.
So Uwa, can I step in here too? I think it's in terms of our Nigerian heritage, we have to go back even further back to our society, how it is, right? I think it's all to do with our patriarchal nature, where the man is the ruler of the house, especially in the Igbo culture. The man says everything, and anytime when you break that contract, that's it. The man gets angry and tries to kill the woman, most likely. So, and I can back this up with statistics. Most of the killings that have occurred in the Nigerian community half of them were by Igbo people. And I know in Igbo land, that's where you have more of the man is the breadwinner of the house. The man makes all the laws and all that, and so on and so forth. So when people come here and women do well, and things are going on well for them, soon the man feels as if I'm no longer in control. And also when you try, if for instance he keeps abusing the woman, one day the woman gets tired and says something, or wants to move out because they want to stop the abuse. And then the man feels as if, oh, this is my property and I have every right. She's my property. I have every right to abuse her. And I'm going to go ahead and end it. If I can't have her, no one else will. That's what I feel. And our one thing too is our leaders, they're not even stepping in to our leaders in Nigeria, I'm talking of. They're not even stepping in to change the laws. Like, we don't have any abuse of laws, abuse of women laws in Nigeria per se. Once a husband beats a woman or wife, it's considered as acceptable in Nigerian society. I don't think I've never really seen a man go to prison for beating up his wife. So
that's a good point you mentioned that. Just while you were talking, Stella,
yeah.
we have a new person, another powerful filmmaker that's joined us. He actually has his own YouTube channel here. Mr. Bess Davis, how are you?
I'm doing
Hi, Beth.
wonderful.
Hi,
How
Beth. How
Okay.
you
is
doing?
everyone doing?
And this is something you have actually talked about, because I know, again, if you tune to Bess Davis' show here on YouTube, he's something he has been very passionate about. So not just a filmmaker, but he's also been like an advocate, like a human rights advocate, especially for women, people beaten up. There was one you actually uploaded today. It was a guy, it's crazy. A guy at work. God, this is
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
A guy at work actually beating another man's, because it's Best, let me not take this. You go ahead, tell us what it was. Just what happened, so you can add your own thing, this thing about domestic violence, because it's men really are just thinking, I don't know, it's like open season.
Yeah, it is very sad. Very, very sad. Actually, I saw that video, and like Amy said rightly, I am advocate for women. I do definitely advocate for women. I hate to see men lay their hands on women, which is definitely not manly. So this boss in Nigeria, for some reason, there were some policies that he brought up. He made some policies, and one of his employees, a lady, a married woman for that matter, did not agree to all the policies, probably because it was just all in favor of the top management. And because she did not agree with that policy, he decided the best way to handle this issue is to pick up a bunch of broomsticks and whip a married woman.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Can you imagine? This 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 is someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's sister that he picked up a broom and whipped. Even if it was the lady was his relative, there is no reason whatsoever why a man should raise his hand on a woman. Like the last person rightly said, it's sad to see that even in Nigeria, there is no advocacy for women where if something like this happens, if there's an abuse on a woman, the man gets um, charged, the man gets sued, the man gets punished, the man gets jailed. I've never seen it happen in
yeah.
Nigeria, and I think that is one of the reasons why it keeps happening until there is a repercussion, until there is a punishment for something like that. There is people feel as though I can do this and get away with it. So why don't I do it? Because there is no repercussion for it. If Nigerian government can stand up, I said this during, I think this was like the last sixth video I made about domestic violence. If Nigerian government can stand up and say this is the law, if a man raises his hand on a woman, it is against the law, and that man should be punished. People would desist from doing stuff like that.
So, but Beth, you're talking about Nigeria. Okay, we live in the U.S., right? And there are laws against domestic violence. There are so many laws against domestic violence. But still, this is happening. I feel like it's not just the laws alone that would help. I think some years ago, I think one of the people who have really not encouraged, women talking and speaking about domestic violence and what their husbands are doing to them is the church. And I need to bring them in because this is really important. Because
Please do, because I was
yeah,
going to go there.
yeah, because for one, the church does not encourage, like, for instance, you don't, if you should go and talk to your pastor that maybe you're having problems at home, and they're going to say it's your fault. According to the they say, according to the interpretation of the Bible, that you are not supposed to, leave your home or, divorce your husband or anything like that. So those people are forced to stay in that marriage. However, I see a shift. I mean, recently they are doing some changes. Even my church some years ago, my pastor finally had to come out to say, look, if you are having problems in your home and you feel like you are in danger, please leave. Don't say I told you that divorce is not encouraged in the church. You go. So because I've heard other church pastors begin to like propagate that message. That's what we need to do because really most of these people, if you look at them, they are really Christians and they want to do the right thing, and they don't want to leave their home, their marriage.
Yeah. So Anita, yes, I agree with you totally. The problem is again our culture. It's unacceptable for us to call the police on our husband. It's because they will say, "Oh, she's more American. She's become Americanized," right? So a lot of women accept this abuse, and it keeps going on until when it hits a breaking point. Like when a woman says, "Enough is enough," and I have to move out. So everything boils down to our culture. So you move from a society where this is acceptable to a society where it's not acceptable. And the man sees as the only way out is to resort to violence because he doesn't see any other way out. Because he's so used to doing this, or he's so used to this type of behavior from where he comes from. So he has no other way out. So it's back
to Stella, you did point something very out that's vital, and Uwa also mentioned it. Culture. See, I don't believe in this cultural belief that it's killing people, so to say. There are so many pastors today, when their members call them and let them know, hey, this is what I'm going through, the pastor will tell them, oh, you guys need probably a counselor. You guys should go see a counselor, or you guys can come to me. I will talk to you about it. Forgetting the fact that it is up here. Whether the man goes to see a counselor or not, that does not stop him from doing what he's been doing. And this also, I can also put the blame to some of our parents back home. Yeah. I've heard about people, a lady called the mom just to complain that the husband was maltreating her, the husband was beating her. And the response the mother gave her was, oh, you can work it out with your husband. Did you see me leave your father? If I left your father, our marriage would have not been what it is today. What kind of advice is that? Your daughter called you to let you know her husband is beating her up. Will it be to the point where he killed her that you will now decide to have her leave? This happened to a young lady recently here in the U.S., in Florida. A pastor, so to say, killed the wife. I saw a video where the brother to the lady asked her to call the cops, and she was still defending the husband that was abusing her until this man went to her job and killed her. So if she had listened to the brother to call the cops, she probably still would be alive. But because she was still defending the husband, I mean, don't get it wrong. Wives can defend their husbands, but not when he is abusing her.
Correct.
Well, it will not stop.
I think she's scared of calling the cops only because sometimes you can call cops to defuse the situation and then one person ends up dead. So that's another topic for another day, right? Yeah. She doesn't want a situation where we call the cops, he's aggressive, and then he gets shot. Because that's what Black Lives Matter movement is all about. So that's one thing too, in that case, right? So she thought, oh yeah, I guess she wasn't even capable, she didn't even know that her husband was capable of doing something like that. Nobody knows, because you wouldn't be with that person, right?
Well, that is so true.
I think people must stop and take this action.
Yeah. This thing is it's like peeling onions, it's so multi-layered, if you will. Yeah. And that is so true. Like you brought the BLM thing in now.
Yeah.
Which is probably a reality for most Black homes.
Yeah.
That, you might want to bring the police in to kind of help diffuse the situation, but you don't mean for the husband to be killed, and then things might escalate and go in a different direction. And that's one way to look at it. But I want to call on Ruke Amata and just because again, you are in the UK, so we most of us here now are like in the US part of it. But there's some scary stories too that comes out from the UK. How is the Nigerian community? Not just the Nigerian community. I want to, it's different communities. So it's not just Nigerian. It's African. It's Asian. Is but because we are of African descent, so we're kind of taken from this aspect. But how is it over at your end there? What is the usual practice when a woman is being brutalized, when you call the cops? I mean, is it pretty much the same way it is here? Because one thing I know men struggle with is in Africa, it's so funny, men can't take it now because they're getting a taste of their medicine. In Africa, when you call the police or you go to the police to help you, I mean, people kind of mock the women. It's the reverse in a Western world, if you will. So why is it a struggle for men? What is going on?
Well, here it's the same thing. It's the same thing everywhere. I think like in America too. Here in the UK, is the same. But like I said from the beginning, it's actually domestic violence. It doesn't only relate to men being violent to the women. There's also the flip side. Some of the women are actually violent to the men. Because I have a friend. Who was, for want of a better word, imported here to the UK. The lady brought him in because, okay, they were planning to get married and all of that. And she brought him in here. And what she used to do when she was going out, she used to lock the door, lock him in so he doesn't go anywhere. And when she comes back and doesn't, she beats him up, she hits him, and says, if you do anything, I'll call the police on you. It got to a stage, I think, towards the end, I can't remember what he did. She actually came and tore his shirt, beat him up. Then she now called the police, then tore her own dress. And when the police came, they said, okay, he has been violent to me. So what I'm saying is that the mindset should change. We should move away from violence. That's the baseline. Male, female, female, male. We should move away from the frustrations that resort to violence. I think that's what we should be looking at. What are the frustrations that make people go to the extent or the extreme that they become violent? It's terrible. It's terrible. I have friends, females, whose partners or husbands have so beaten them that, for the love of me, I don't know why. Well, like you said, it's the cultural thing. Because I said, okay, why didn't you call the police? He said, why will I call the police? It's my husband, it's my partner.
Actually, yeah. See, Ruke, everybody has their opinion, and that's fine, and that's why we're having this panel and having this discussion. So I think where I kind of digress, or I'm going to digress a bit from your point of view, is domestic violence. Yes, we know it's both ways. However, I believe statistics has shown that more women are brutalized by men. See, when you talk about, is like the analogy you're using, again, with all due respect, I'm listening to you because everybody gets it. Say you don't have to agree with me. It's like saying, Black lives matter. And then you see people saying all lives matter. Do you see what I'm saying? So people talking about domestic violence and how it affects women doesn't undermine the fact that it also affects men. We know that. But statistics have shown that there is an increase in a lot of women losing their lives. So there are cases, of course, of where, like the case you just mentioned about your friend, or this couple. She brought him in, she imported whatever, mail order groom. And she is now taking advantage. That could happen to anyone. It happens to both parties. It could happen to people who have power, abuse power.
Yeah.
So if she felt that, what, I brought you here. Yeah. So hello. But my thing is, I think it's more, again, please feel free to disagree with me. There are some questions people are asking, and I would like to take one. One is from Mrs. Helen Binigir. She's saying that I think the government should now inculcate this issue of domestic violence as part of the school curriculum to create the awareness right from tender age.
Yeah.
Is that something we agree on? I mean, since I have Ruke, I'm just going to have Ruke. Is that, do you think?
Yeah, like I think, like I said, the mindset has to change.
Okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah,
because if we continue like this, we'll keep on having issues and cases of domestic violence. But when we change the way we think and realize that not everything should end with violence, that even the most violent thing you can think of, maybe world wars, at the end of the day, most of the wars were resolved on the board table. So the violence did not resolve the issues they had. So it's the same thing with life. Let's move away from violence.
So Ruke, can I ask you that then? So how about disciplining? I think it should start with disciplining your kids, right? If you're busy beating up your kids if they do something wrong. I've even heard of cases where a father beats up an 18-year-old woman, pretty much. I don't understand why a father should beat up his 18-year-old daughter.
For
because
me,
at that point, if you haven't taught your daughter everything you need to have taught her, then beating her up at that point has no value.
No, I don't think at that point in time, at that age, she's no longer a child.
Yes.
Like we say, okay, fine. Even the world over, the Western world, they discourage those forms of disciplining.
Yes.
I'm an African. I'm a Nigerian. I've got my children with me. I can't remember the last time I hit any of them.
Yes.
They're still young. They're still, the oldest is 16.
Yeah. So my son. And I found out that I think violence never really solved anything for me. I think with kids, I had more success with my son taking privileges away as opposed to physically beating him.
That's it.
He's more likely to do what I tell him. If I say, okay, look, I'm not going to buy you this game, or you're not going to go meet your friends, or you're not going to go to this birthday party. I think that has more of an effect as opposed to being violent. Because when you beat up your kids, that in turn teaches them that to resort to violence in order to get their will done. So I think that's where it's yes.
I think I beg to differ. I beg to differ a little bit. Discipline has there are so many ways to discipline a child. It could be by, even the Bible itself says, spare the rod and spoil the child. Now, that does not mean you have to pick up a whip and start beating the child. It depends on how the beating occurs. I remember back in those days, if I did anything wrong, my mom would ask me to kneel down, stretch my hand forward, and he will whoop my butt. That I don't see as an abuse. If you spank your child...
I beg to disagree, though, because if you notice the way we were brought up, our upbringing, I would say it's borderline abuse. I think if you do those kind of things now, they would, I mean, in a civilized society, they would probably say you abused the kid.
That is because we have been exposed. That's because we've been exposed to this Western BS.
The same culture of Western.
The Western world has indoctrinated our minds to believe that they know everything better than every other part of the world. When I was growing up, back in those days, I'm not that old though, but back in those days, there was nothing like domestic abuse. There was nothing like a man beating up a woman.
That you know of. You can't say that. That was rife.
It was there.
7 wives. People used to beat up their wives. That was a normal thing.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. Where I was going though, is, even though it was just like, I'm going to get to a point about the women versus the men too. Even though it was back then, it wasn't as rampant as it is now. And that also brings me to the point of amazing.
I beg to differ again because because of social media and all the communication channels, we're getting to hear of them more now. It's not that it wasn't as rampant then. Then it wasn't that easy to share information. Now you can. As soon as something happens, the next minute it's all over the internet. So that's where.
Stella, to agree with you, if I just I remember my neighbors then. I think the man's mother used to come and tell us, your husband beat you. Say that's because he loves you. That's not why he beat you. That he's disciplined beating her in domestic violence because of the love he has for her.
Yes,
so he has always been there.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
So I kind of get where Beth is coming from. So I understand what Beth is saying, because if we know that domestic violence has always been there, but also we have to consider that we have to also make sure our kids are well trained and disciplined. Okay. So when you talk about abuse, and Stella, I know you don't agree, but let me just finish my point. So if you look at the kind of discipline we used to have, because I went to a boarding school, I'm sure most of us did, because if you grew up in Africa, you probably went to a boarding school. There was controlled discipline. Okay, so you did something wrong. Okay, you were called to kneel down. You bring out your hands. You get two or three lashes of the cane. It was controlled. I'm not saying it's right, but it was controlled. They didn't beat you because they felt like beating you or because you had done something wrong. That was to teach a lesson that what you have done is wrong. Because see, children they remember by memory, so they know that is wrong. It's going to stick in their memory. Okay.
But let me tell you this though: has that? But are we not more violent as a society because of that?
Well, no, but guess what? Now we don't discipline our kids. I'm not saying. I don't. I personally don't hit my kids. I've never hit my kids ever. But I'm just saying I get where he's coming from. The discipline has to be controlled. So it's either
Yeah.
I know you talk about taking things away
All I'm
from the
saying,
kids,
I'm not saying that you
but
shouldn't discipline your kids, right? And
okay.
I'm just saying maybe violence is not the answer. There are other ways
It's
to
not, but,
discipline your kids.
but
I'm
you're
not saying
seeing
don't
as
let them be spoiled.
violence. You're seeing as violence, but he's saying it's
Yeah,
controlled.
don't be violent.
It's not. It's okay. It's controlled
Okay.
discipline because
Yeah.
if you're able to hit somebody, like if you say, okay, I'm gonna hit you once or twice in your hand, so you know it's wrong. Okay, that's not violence. Violence is when I would take a
It
book
is
and
not.
violence is
But
different
I
from that.
understand that, but what about if the day you're frustrated? But people, you know what? Our parents are frustrated too. They had six
Okay.
kids, they had 10 kids. So you'll be frustrated, and the day you sometimes it tends to go overboard because you've lost your head. It's not all the time
Let
that the
me let
parents.
me chip
So,
let me chip
Beth,
in
before
something real
before
quick.
you,
yeah.
Yes.
Beth, hold on, just
Yes.
before because I want to take some questions and we're going to come back to you. So hold that thought. So we're coming to Best. But one of the comments here from Abiayua Monday says, "I grew up in Nigeria. Even though my mom hates me, she always explained to me the reasons and told me lots of stories of how I will become greater in life, etc. Blah 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 blah." So but Best, go ahead, make your point. But yeah.
Yes.
So,
Where I work at, that you should, if you do something, if you're telling people stuff, there should always be a why behind the reason why you do stuff. Um, Stella was saying about violence. If you beat someone, is violence. I don't consider that violence. Now, if you want to categorize that violence, and which could probably lead to the day you get angry, it turns into something else. It could also happen with you seizing their devices. What if you
Yeah.
get upset and angry and you seize the device and you smash it? Isn't that called violence? So,
Not really. You know what?
interesting point.
See, my point is, right, what I've noticed based on personal experience, right? Hitting a child, what happens over here, because here they have zero tolerance for violence, right? What happens here is you beat your child, they go to kindergarten, and then they see something's not being done right. They smack the other child. Only because
Yeah.
they're copying mom. Mom beats me
that
when
is
I
No,
because
that's
that
not true.
this kid, and then you get a call from the
That's not
Well,
teacher.
true.
that is true. Actually,
That's
it's
not
true
true.
because that's the
Yeah,
way
I don't agree with
men.
that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
hold
What
on,
happens
hold
They
on.
learn from experience
over here?
more than from what you say.
that's not true.
Yeah.
So
That's
if
not
your
I
true.
don't
if
feel
your actions if your
Okay,
actions at
wait, let's
home
Ruke.
are
Ruke has the
violent,
floor.
there's a high probability
Mm-hmm.
that they will pick up those traits because if they are used to being beaten at home, they
Yeah.
will think that okay, that's the way to correct
Definitely.
the next
I
person, and
agree.
if the next child does it, they will hit out.
They will hit out.
So
Yeah.
as much
We
as
should
possible,
use
I
them.
think
We should learn to use them. Well, we have to teach our kids to learn to use
correct
their
that.
words.
I think it's a
Yeah.
figurative thing when it says spare the rod and spoil the child.
Correct.
If you do not discipline your child, I'm not saying if you are not violent to your
Yeah.
child, there are ways of disciplining. Nowadays, we've gotten to the stage where every child is a solicitor or a barrister or an advocate. So you need to sit down and reason with them. Tell
Correct.
them why this is this, this is that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why
Wait.
and yeah.
Ruke, Ruke, say that again. Every child is a what?
Every
It's
time, yeah, especially here in the UK. I'm also a teacher. So when you go, you tell them, they'll ask you why. So you have to be able to tell them why. You can't tell them, no, like we used to do in Nigeria, like my friend, shut up and everything. No, you will tell them why. That you shouldn't do this because they will ask you questions.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
all of
that
them, all
is
of them,
But
they,
that's a good thing. But that's a good
they
thing.
have one law trove where they go and find out things and ask you questions. So for me, it's all about, like I said, I am an advocate for discussion,
exactly,
for talking instead of maybe 2, 3 might just a symbolic way. So don't do that. But not that you.
That's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. That's what we. Because I'm sure Beth is not saying anybody should bring out cane and flog somebody merciless. That's not what we are saying.
Right.
Correct. Like because I went to a boarding school and my boarding school our principals were missionaries. You will get the 1-2 smack on your pants. It's not that's not beating. It's just to let you know that you did something wrong, and that's symbolic, So I'm not talking about getting a kind of
but you know that there's a reason why in federal government colleges beating has been removed, right?
Okay,
you know why?
we're talking about beating. We're talking about
It's not beating.
It's not beating.
We don't do that anymore. Even in Nigeria, we don't do that anymore. There's no more caning and all that stuff.
It's okay.
But that is not beating, though. That is not beating.
So it's okay. So taking a ruler or something and saying, okay, this something wrong, smack, or even when you have a baby who's going towards something and you say, don't go there, smack. What is that? That's not for me. That's not violence. That's not.
I'll tell you a story.
Smack is just stop it.
I'll tell you a story. What you're saying will work for some kids, but I've seen cases where some kids, you beat them the first time they're scared, or some kids are scared when you beat them and they will not do it again.
I'm not talking about beating.
You beat them. No, I'm telling you, I've grown up with kids.
No, you're talking about beating. I'm not talking about beating. So don't talk about beating. I'm not
talking about the point here, right? I grew up with some kids who they kept getting beat, but after a while they would say, "Oh yeah, after all they're just going to beat me. I'm still going to do my own thing." And then as the child got older and older, the parents couldn't control him anymore. They had to even bring the army or the police to come and beat them. And the guy after that, he just didn't care because he had done the utmost thing to him, and it all turned out bad eventually for him. So that's what I'm saying.
Well,
okay. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna let you talk because we have time. We are gonna talk, but I have to also take some of these comments here. So again, it's Abiyayowa Monday. She says she lives in France and it's okay to hit without violence. It's okay to hit the children without violence. That's what she said, because she believes that, again, it's controlled, they're allowed to do that. And that over the violent part of it is manipulation. So I think we're kind of saying the same things. However,
I don't think so.
My point is when you teach your child violence, or when you beat, or even the small smacking, if the child goes and smacks somebody's child, that's what you're teaching him violent ways. Him or her.
You're telling the child why you're doing it. You're telling the child what you're doing, and they understand that they did something wrong. Okay, so so let me
ask you a question.
I have to go.
And then they hit them. Is that right or not?
Hold on, I have to go to Ruke real fast. You were saying something when I interrupted.
Okay, quickly, Uwa, like what you said. Okay, you smack the child. You tell, okay, this is because you did something wrong. The child takes that to the back of his mind, goes to school. He perceives that his fellow has done him some wrong.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I said that's because you did this.
Because you did this, exactly.
You've already imbibed a culture
of violence. That's where it starts from.
Forget all that.
Let me react to that.
You can smack without violence.
Okay, we're gonna do.
Let me react to
that. Comment from. Sorry.
Okay, Best react.
Yes, to the point Ruke just made. The bottom line is dialogue. It's talk, discussion. If we look at this very critically, everything will lead to violence, whether you like it or not. One, you spank your child, like Ruke mentioned. You spank your child thinks that's the best way to discipline, goes to school, someone does something, they spank, and then it results in fight. Your child does something, you confiscate their tablet. The child goes to school, someone does something, they confiscate their tablet. That child will retaliate, probably violently. So there is no way you look at it that it may not turn out to be violent. Now, here's the point I was trying to make. When it depends on the definition of violence anyway. When you spank your child, I don't think you're being violent to the child. Now, here's the point. Every individual has a way of correcting their children. What works for Mr. A will definitely not work for Mr. B, and definitely will not work for Mr. C. Mr. A might have a way of correcting the children when they go wrong by probably seizing their devices and telling them, you are on timeout. You are grounded for 1 week. That probably will not work for Mr. B. Maybe what works for Mr. B is when the child does something, they pull the child to themselves, give the child a hug and tell them this you did is wrong. This is what you should do the next time. Don't do it this way again. That's probably what for Mr. B. And for Mr. C, it might be that spanking is what works for them. So there are different ways of correcting ill doings for children. It's not only by spanking, it's not only by seizing devices, and it's probably not only by calling or hugging. So many ways. That was the point I was trying to make.
Very good. Now, before anyone else comes in, I want to come in here. So it seems the house is divided. We have Uwa and Best on the same side, and then we have Ruke and Stella on the same side. So I'm going to surmise here. So I'm thinking that because, again, we're discussing domestic violence and the root of domestic violence, because it seems what I'm hearing here now with the faction of from Ruke and Stella is that domestic violence is something that, again, kids grow up to be adults. So it's the way they have been treated, either confiscating things from them or smacking them or spanking them, whichever way you want to, tomato. It inculcates in that child that violence, it kind of propagates a domestic nature, right? That's what I'm hearing, that there should be better ways, because what we're trying to do now, domestic violence is on the rise. People are dying. It's not just with the older, we see with the millennials, people are dying. There's not enough patience now. People just get angry. And the funny thing is, it's a form of control, it's manipulation. And if they think that they cannot do that, the next thing is, if I can't have you, nobody else can. And then they go ahead and it results in death, which is really sad. So you're saying that, the faction of Ruke and Stella, that it starts from childhood. The boy eventually becomes a man, and because he has been disciplined in a violent way, right?
No, that's not right. That's not. See,
not only discipline. No. There are two things. There are two things. It could be discipline.
Let me correct what she's saying.
Wait, hang on. Let me just what we're.
Okay, guys. Okay, so what exactly am I? Because on your end,
so what you're saying is that is the child is you're saying that because the child was beaten, that's why the child became violent. But that's
no.
Let me finish. The issue is this. Those kids that become violent, they have seen their mothers and their parents become violent towards each other. It's not because they were spanked. So let's not.
That's what they're saying.
No, but that's wrong.
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that's part of the reason. Yeah. We're saying that's part of the reason
is the child
mindset of violence.
No, because the kids have seen their own parents fighting.
And they've seen that violence is how they can resolve issues as opposed to using their words.
No,
can I just
do the same thing.
What I'm saying, Uwa, is that as Ruke said, we have to change our mindset of violence, of being violent to resolve issues, right? So part of it is part of it is your beating, and that's how they resolve issues instead of their parents talking to them, whatever. Yeah. Number two, they're seeing their father beat their mother or their mother beat their father, the other way. Two things. So two things.
I was, again, you're not in agreement with Stella. I'm speaking to Uwa now. You're not in agreement with Stella and Ruke. Ruke and Stella made it clear. It's not just about fathers beating mothers and kids see it. They're saying that the children have been raised with a disciplining way of being violent. Spanking is a thing. That's what they're saying. It doesn't matter what you believe or not. That is what they believe.
Let me just add a bit to it.
So that's what they're saying. You're saying it has nothing to do with that. You're saying spanking doesn't have anything to do with a child becoming violent. That's what you're
absolutely not.
I'm making that clear.
Can I just come in? Can I come in?
Okay, let's look at coming. This is a hard debate, people.
Okay, for me, let's now look at psychology. Ivan Pavlov, the experiment he conducted, conditioning. That there were, I think he had this experiment with dogs. I think Skinner had with rats. That conditioning, the mindset is learned over time, and if over time the child has been disciplined by spanking, he comes to associate that with his form of correction. And if he grows up with that attitude, you can never tell. Maybe depending on the child, his own violence might be moderate. Depending on the child's attitude, it might go overboard. So what we are saying, we're looking for ways to eradicate this. If there's a possibility that spanking or correction, physical correction, adds to the possibility of the child being violent later in life, what I'm saying is, let's remove this. Let's start eliminating all the things that might lead to making a man or a woman become violent later in life. And that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. The point is well.
Okay,
so
we understand that point. We understand that point. And the point I'm trying to drive home is, it is not just the spanking that adds up in making these people become violent when they grow up. Let's look at statistics. Comparing the United States, matter of fact, the Western world to the third world. Let's look at the US versus Nigeria. How many people have we seen that are violent in the US versus in Nigeria?
Exactly.
In the US, hold on. Let me finish. Hold on. In the US, the government is against spanking, raising your hand against your children. Yet, thousands and thousands and thousands upon thousands of people are violent. Whereas in Nigeria, where people get spanked, it is not the same. So why is it that the number of violent people in the US?
Can you quote this statistic?
Stella, wait, I'm going to put you on so that, but first, Bess, finish your thoughts.
Because that statistic is not correct.
Why is it that the number of people that are in US that are violent is outrageous compared to the number of people that are violent in the third world, where people discipline their children by spanking?
Okay, so I'm going to put Stella on so she has a chance to respond.
Yes, I don't know where you're quoting the statistics from, because that's not correct. No, Nigeria is not one of the leading countries in terms of armed robbery and violence. On the street, you see people fighting because of our nature, of how we were brought up. How many times do you see that here in the culture? And number two, even the violence that you see, let me just add this. The violence that you see is most gun violence is mostly like drive-by shootings, mostly amongst Black people. And again, you know why? Also,
violence is violence.
Spanking their kids. So you can still point this back to the same root cause of spanking, of using violence to address your issues, as opposed to using your words.
Yeah, to support that.
So there's no statistic to support that there's more violence in the US. It's not true. There's reason why people run away from going to Nigeria. Let me talk about Nigeria specifically. The violence in Nigeria is higher compared to the US. It's not safe. People are scared to leave their house after 6 p.m., right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
So then you can't even say that. That's not true at all. I'm sorry to say.
There's a referee behind you.
That's your opinion, though. That's your opinion.
Yeah. No, it's not my opinion. It's a fact. Can you leave the house at 6 p.m., after 6 p.m., without getting scared of, without being kidnapped or armed robbers coming down your to steal your car?
Okay, but Stella,
I don't think that has anything to do with upbringing.
That's something else entirely.
At 12 midnight.
Oh my God, Stella, you are drawing.
Okay, I'm gonna give a wide chance to go on. While you're going to.
But Stella, you are just drawing conclusions that are so different from what we're talking about. What is causing armed robbery and people? That's something else entirely. It's economic.
It's the same thing.
Completely different.
The economic issues. It's not because of let's not bring that into it. That's not what.
Why not? Because it's part of being violent.
Because at the end of the day, if you look at most, and you look, 95% of us were raised like that, being spanked. So today, are you violent? Are you killing somebody?
Exactly.
Are you your husband? So your whole
I'm not violent. I'm not violent. But you see how I'm raising my voice? You see how I'm raising my voice?
Neither am I. So I don't.
Why am I raising my voice? Because of the way I was brought up, right?
I don't stand
my discussion.
Okay, I don't stand my kids because I don't feel I need to, but I didn't do it. But I just want to make sure that we understand that it's not the spanking that makes the child become violent. Because I was spanked
at all
where I was. And so I'm not violent, but if I
how many times you were spanked as a child?
that's what I want to do as a mother. But that's
what
causes the violence or the domestic violence. The people who are fighting and killing their wives because they saw their parents do beating their own mothers. It's different from how you are disciplined.
But how did they learn to beat?
Sorry, from a legal point of view, you are being presumptuous. You do not know. You are assuming that
I'm not
that
being
is one of the reasons.
I'm not. I'm stating what I mean. Look at
that's what you feel.
We all grew up in that environment. We all grew up in that environment where we were all spanked. How many of us are violent today?
Okay, so it's wow. This, I tell you guys, this is a heated house, and there's so many points that are being made. We have, the house is divided, people. Okay, and I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Also divided. You have those going for and those going against. From Miss Helen Benigia, she says spanking helped to raise me very well, and I'm not violent. So and you know what, it's I hear the two sides. I do. There's with the Uwa and Bess Davis, they agree with Helen. Helen agrees with Best. She's writing it here, and I'm sure you agree because Uwa is saying the same thing as Best. That again, I don't know. Do we have statistics to back this? I don't know, but it does. I mean, they both make valid points. It's like the case of the chicken and the egg, which came first. Okay, so you have a man beating his wife. Why? Is it because he saw his mom being beaten by the father, or he saw that the way he was raised and his siblings, because the spanking, and then that now molded him to become an aggressive man or woman? And I see Anita she doesn't agree. I get that.
I don't agree either. I don't agree either.
But you also see Stella and Ruke. And like I said, it's a case of the chicken and the egg. Which came first? You know what I'm saying? Because a child eventually becomes a grown-up. So what affected him? Nurture, nature. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's what it is. But however, I want to bring this topic back to the product. Okay, the product of all this. Something that Stella, and I'm just going to go to Stella, because when she was making a point very early on, before we got to the chicken and the egg thing, the parents and kids, something she mentioned, and it's something that's very prevalent in the African community. And that's this thing of, and she said, especially amongst the Igbos, and we have Igbos in the house. So if they can comment on this, this will be nice. One thing I do know the Igbos do, it's not just them, but it's very rampant, is, a man of a certain age will go home to Nigeria, in this case, and then pick a girl that is sometimes even less than half his age, okay? Bring her here, either to the UK, anywhere, somewhere outside Nigeria. And then, of course, she gets education and what have you. And the man now thinking that, of course, he's starting to decline, maybe, meaning when I say decline, his productive years, he's getting to that age where he's not working as hard as he ought or should be doing. And then the wife is now an ATM. And of course, the wife now lives in a society where she's not a slave. She's not, she cannot be treated any which way. She realizes that, because the truth of the matter is those um the laws that are here are actually in Nigeria, but they're not enforced. Okay, because it's just the way it is. It's very patriarch. How do you pronounce that word?
Patriarchal.
Yeah, it is.
Patriarchal, yeah.
That's just what it is. So when these women come here, and it's not just Nigerian, but I'm using this particular case because it happens to Indians.
Yeah.
It happens to people from other parts of the world where they now come to this place and they realize, oh, well, someone actually cares for me, because no matter what, everybody likes that. You want a place that's got your back. And these women start to, not when I say talk back, they start to fight back, because now they know the laws that can be enforced to like protect them. It's something our men, African men, Asian men, even South American men, but people immigrants, I'm talking about immigrants, find it difficult. It's like, oh yeah, I brought her, and now she's talking back to me, because they expect her to bring the money to him, because again, she's an ATM. So this is where this problems, because there's so many of where, and then the woman is like, I can't take this anymore. I'm leaving. I'm divorcing you. And this almost always leads to death. It's either is leading to death, and what happens, the man also gets put in jail. So what happens to the kids? So that's another form of violence. Do you see that now? So that's the violence there. Man hitting, or killing their mother. And then the child also now seeing that, again, the man usually takes the frustration out on the kids first. Because again, it's that whole violence thing. So I'm coming to
disclosure. I'm also Igbo. Before you guys, I'm also Igbo.
Oh, good.
But I know I'm Igbo, but I'm also from Onitsha, and Onitsha is slightly different because
people say I'm not Igbo.
No, we're Igbo, but for us, the women have power in Onitsha. So women are a bit more forward and talk. They come
because
out and talk their mind.
The men actually take care of those women. I see. I know the Onitsha culture.
Yeah, Onitsha women. That's why they don't even like, Igbos don't even like to marry Onitsha women, because they said we were too forward. We speak our minds. We're encouraged to speak our minds and all that. So, but I know that with other Igbo cultures in particular, women are not allowed to talk back at their husbands. They're pretty much seen as their husband's property. So that's why, again, I was quoting statistics. Half of these cases that you see in the US, they're all committed by Igbo men, because they bring, as you said, they bring these women over. They even train them in some cases to be nurses. And then they expect them to work for them and to work and not answer back. But then, as you said, when the women come here, they see that, I don't have to be someone's slave. I have my own mind. I'm a human being too. And then they do other things. And then the man gets angry because he's no longer the head of the household. And he maybe resorts to violence or goes ahead and kills her, right? And it's to do with the immigrant role reversal, where the woman becomes the breadwinner as opposed to the man now being the breadwinner of the house. But that's my thought. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens more with Igbo people, only because of the culture. So that's something that needs to be changed. Thank you.
Anybody has anything to add to that? Because I know, okay, take for instance, I know like in Texas, it's on the rise. The nurse thing, they all become nurses. And I know it's not just, I'm using that because it's something that they're actually talking about in that community. The nurses are being killed by their husbands.
Yeah.
So it's domestic violence. We had the case, like Bess said, of the pastor. He's from Ghana. He's not from Nigeria. And he killed his wife too. So this case of, if I can't have you, nobody can. I beg.
Let me just chip in something real quick.
Okay, chip in. Come in, Iboma.
Thank you. I think one of the other reasons, in addition to what Stella just said, one of the other reasons is some of these men come all the way from Africa to the civilized world. Let me use the US, for example, because I live here. They forget where they came from. They come here, they feel content. Most of them become cab drivers. What are you going to do being a cab driver? Go to school, educate yourself, be prominent, be someone, be useful to yourself. And then you wouldn't have the issue if you bring someone from home as a wife and the person becomes a nurse or becomes a doctor. The two of you make good money. So there would not be the need to go after her money and have her working for you as an ATM, because you make your own money. You went to school, you were able to get a good job, you work, you make good money, she makes good money. So the point of relying on her income, relying on her money doesn't arise. And that there, right there, stops the domestic violence. So I guess people should understand the fact that they just don't come here. This is a land of opportunities. Once you get here, you will become whatever you want to become as long as you put your mind towards it. So people should have that kind of mindset that you're not just coming here to relax because it's a God's own country. You feel that money will start falling from heaven from you. Money don't fall anymore. You have to put in the work.
Can I ask what?
Manners don't fall anymore. Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
And my best, I do agree with you. I know, some of these men, they're looking for the easy way out. But let's also be very factual, okay? That most of the time, women are more successful than in the US here. Women are more successful than men. And I don't know why. I'm talking about black women. When we come, I don't know, maybe because, they think we are safer, because like, I think a lot of white people do, honestly, white men do fear the black man. And for some reason, and that's a different topic entirely. Let me bring that up. But women are really more successful here. So when the man brings his wife, we may be working hard too. But at the end of the day, the woman might end up being more successful, either because she's hard working, or she just knows how to be successful.
So Uwa, yeah, she's more successful because we come from a patriarchal environment, right? Where women are more likely to adapt to the situation, to new cultures. That's the main reason, right? But men, because they're so used to being kings and whatever in Nigeria, it's very hard for them to adapt.
Did you just give thumbs up?
Yes, that's true.
That's the main reason why. It's not that they're lazy or anything. They just can't adapt to that new culture as quickly as the women adapt.
That's true, and that's what I've done. That's the point I make. So it's true. So, but the issue, so I don't want us to think that the men are all lazy.
They're not.
They're no absolutes. We can't say that.
No. I am actually not saying the men are lazy.
I understand that. I'm just trying to point that out. But at the same time, okay, the fact that the men cannot take the fact that the women are not more successful is a problem. Because if I'm doing better than my husband, and we are still working in one accord, according to my friend, I said, let us be working in the same direction in one accord. If we're still working in one accord, then we are fine. But the problem becomes the fact that the man is not jealous and wants to have control over that woman. That's where the problem is, and so that's what causes the issue. So I think for us, I think we need to be able to accept that sometimes the men may not do as well as we expect. And as we as women, we have to also be able to say, okay, we know that this is a different environment, and maybe be a little bit more accepting of the man's ability, or whatever he's bringing in, into the situation, and maybe not be too aggressive and say, you're not making money, you're not doing well, But again, I think it's on both sides. The men have to not be one to be controlling, and women have to be more understanding of the situation that we are in.
Interesting.
In most cases, Anita, just to add to what you said, some of these men are just too greedy. That's the point. Instead of if your wife is successful, why don't allow that success be an inspiration to you? Why would you want to be the lord of the house? You're the king. You're the judge. You're the jury. You're the executioner. Why do you want to become 3 in 1 like God? How about your wife's success become an inspiration to you and let that push you up? You know what I mean? Instead of being jealous, your wife begins to make more money than you do. So now you're jealous. You want to acquire everything, including the woman. It doesn't happen like that. You have to allow yourself, put yourself to the ground, and become a rug that people will march on, and then you can get lifted instead of being jealous, and then it will result to killing.
Okay, so Best, you're getting the husband award for this one, because how many men? No, and that's the truth, because it's one thing to say that. That just means, and that's where successful homes come from, because a lot of times it's a pride thing, you know. It's the society you grew up in. It's I can't get that word out. Patriarchal. Helen is like, best tell them. Yeah, because again, for most men, it's just that thing of if a woman is making more money than them, then it emasculates them. Well, it's too bad. You know, you find a lot of successful homes is because they know that, it doesn't matter where this money is coming from, whether it's from her or from me, it comes to the same household. It comes for the care of everybody is going. It takes a real man to step behind a woman and let the woman take the lead and still be a man. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, and that comes from
it's on you.
And the reason comes from the indoctrination that he must have had from his training as a child, not when he was being smacked or when he was being. It comes that
Ruke, let's not go back there. Let's not go back there.
Let Ruke make his point. Sir, you have the floor.
No, I think it's all about the values that you have instilled in the man or the woman from childhood. So for me, I might, like I said, I don't think I might be 100% right, but I think one of the ways might be let's talk more to the intelligence of the children than to correct them through physical violence. That's just what I'm saying. Like you said, I don't see why a man should beat up an 18-year-old woman, no matter what she has done.
But we're not saying we're not talking to them, though. We're not cutting off the talking and then talking to the intelligence part of it. We're not cutting that off. That's still there. That's part of the whole package. So let me call it the whole package now. You do that and you see them and you talk to the intelligence, and everything that we are talking about is a whole package. You cannot remove one and you think it's going to be successful because you're anymore having kids that have no respect. I mean, we have to be factual. Look, America, we're in a society where the kids, they don't have a respect for their elders. People, so it's a whole package. You can't leave one and think the child is going to be good without it. So when we talk about spanking a child, okay, we're not going to spank a child until when the child is 18 years old. The child will beat you now. Yeah, I'm going to spank an 18-year-old child. How are you going to do that?
But it happens in Nigeria all the time.
No, it happens. No, it happens. Nobody spanks an 18-year-old child.
In Nigeria?
No, it doesn't.
Please. It happens even now. I saw it.
There's an age where the spanking stops. And after that, you're saying
still happens
like an adult.
Yeah.
So we're not saying spank a child until the child is 18. No. You spank a child from when they're babies until like the toddler, maybe like 10, 9 or 8, 7 years old.
9 is too old.
Yeah. There's a certain age where spanking works. After that, you don't spank the child any longer. But at that beginning, you set that discipline for them. And they understand that what they're doing is wrong. After that, you begin to put in the intelligence part of it. Let's talk about why
I'm going. But can you do that without spanking? You can do that without spanking too, right?
Yes,
Stella, I've seen American families. Stella, I've seen American families where the mother will be talking to the child. There is no spanking, and the child will ask the mother to shut up. What do you call that?
Yeah.
It's not lack of home training. Home training is not physical violence.
Yeah.
It's
that's whether you spank or not.
Okay, if you're talking about physical violence.
It's not violence. It's not violence.
It's not physical correction. Let's remove the word violence. It's not physical correction.
You do not need to be violent to teach your child values.
No,
it's my point.
Okay, Stella, it's not violence because you keep saying it's violence. No, it's control discipline. If I have a child that's going towards a fireplace, okay, and they're going to get burnt, and I say, don't go there, that's dangerous, okay? That's not violence. It's not.
Well, you can also talk to the child, take the child aside and say,
Okay,
look, this is dangerous too.
You guys,
yes,
let's move up. Let's move
that's
because
how
this
people
topic is not
you're
going to
not
end.
going to agree. You're not going to
Yeah,
agree.
let's beg to disagree.
Yeah, let's beg
Beth,
to disagree.
people agree with me that it takes a real man, it's true, to take a step back, and it's okay for women. This is the thing that I hope that men will take away from, just listening to topics like this and discussions like this, that you stepping behind a woman or you putting the woman forward doesn't undermine your masculinity.
That's
Actually
true.
makes you more of a man. And the truth about it is, women will love whoever that your partner is, your wife, your girlfriend, that the fact that you trust her enough, or you trust the relationship enough to make her go before you, or make her be successful. That woman is not leaving you. She's not
Yep.
going anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what men,
She's
they
lives,
don't
then she's
understand.
mumu.
The more you beat, is like you keep, even if it's an animal, you tied it to a stake, you start to beat. One day that animal is going to turn on you, run away, or turn on you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with a woman. When you've got to let the woman bloom, you've got to let her flower, you got to let her blossom, because it comes back to you. And she's not leaving you. I'm telling you, she will serve you. She's not. Men need to understand that the beating doesn't correct. It just brings you heartache. Brings heartache, and it brings sadness. So again, going to people agree with well, both sides, like I said, some they said best. Romy D says best, you're right. Romy D, thank you for coming. Romy D show. Please, guys, also visit that YouTube channel, Romy D show. And she talks about topics like this. I might just, see if I can bring her one of my shows, and because she does talk, again, is a trending top. People are dying. Some people will tell you the reason why a man beats a woman is because the woman is rude. She lacks good home training. I have Anita, I have Uwa on the screen, so we're going to quickly take this because we're rounding up. But do you think it has anything to do with that? Because the woman has no, she lacks home training. She's the one that is provoking. I think I started with this actually. So what's your take on that? That's your last word, because I'm going to go around so we can.
So yeah, it's not. Look, and it's true that some women that just don't have home training. That's just the truth. They were not brought up properly, and they're rude. They don't respect their husbands. That's there, okay. But most of the time, like we have already said before, is that these men bring these women here, and they expect them to do the ATM. And then the women, they come here, they learn the culture, they find out, you don't have to give your money to your husband, and then they don't want to do it any longer, and that's what causes it. So, that's the main problem. Yeah, and really, I think Stella mentioned this. In order for us to begin to change this culture, and I hear and said I'm not going to go back to whether spanking is violent or not, but you are right. We need to start by training the kids. This needs to be part of our school curriculum. We need to invite. This has to be in our where we teach our kids what violence is and what hitting a woman. Or we need to teach that from. And it's not just this. We need to teach everything in the school. I mean, there's many things that we do in Nigeria that's wrong. Stealing, armed robbery. People that at airports at an attendant are taking people things from their bags. Those are things we need to teach our kids from the very beginning. When we teach our kids those things, they will know it's wrong. And when they grow up, they won't do it. Right now, our culture does not encourage it, and that's why it keeps happening.
Okay, so now, Ruke, you have the floor, your last word. But before you go on, I'm going to comment. Esther Yemere says there should be a forum where women, men, and children get educated to make them understand every word of violence. But your last word, sir.
For me, like I have stated from the fact, I think it's all about conditioning, and I still believe that the way you bring up your child matters a lot, and the correction doesn't have to be violent. Let me stretch it a bit very far. It's like they say in the Bible, he who lives by the sword will die by the sword. Let me even explain it a bit more. When they went to arrest Jesus Christ, one of the disciples drew out a sword and cut off somebody's ears because that one was used to violence. Jesus Christ said, no, not because they do things. So he put back the ear. Forget violence. If you want to correct the child, but try as much as possible, because it might not be physically possible that once in a while you don't smack the child, but try as much as possible most of the time not to resort to
Resort to that.
physical correction. They cannot call
Okay.
them violence.
Okay. So I'm going to go to Miss Aduba here. So last word for you.
Yes, so I agree with all that Ruke said. Violence is not the answer. And number two, one thing I want to correct is in Nigerians, we always like to blame the victim. We cannot keep blaming the victim, no matter, even if your wife is rude to you, she doesn't deserve to be dead because she was rude to you or because she didn't respect you. So
I
that's
didn't say
one thing
that.
too. You can turn your back and divorce her, or you can just walk away. Just walk away if you get to that point where you're so angry. Violence is never the answer. And please, we should not ever, ever blame the victim. I don't think anybody deserves to die, even
Right.
if you have no home training or whatever you guys say. Violence is never the answer.
Is
Thank you.
never the answer. Okay. So now I'm going to Mr. Davis. Your last word on domestic violence, sir.
Well, domestic violence has a lot to do with upbringing, regardless of how you were brought up, not only with upbringing, also the environment matters a lot. Peers, peer group, the people you hang out with. Now, talking about the last thing, second to the last comment someone said was about women being disrespectful to their husbands. That's why men result in beating their wives. I do not agree with that, even though some of these women are disrespectful. Now, most men don't expect to bring women from the third world country to civilized countries and still expect them to be what they used to be. You don't expect an Ngbeke to remain an Ngbeke in a civilized world. I mean, there will be some changes once she gets here. She'll adapt to the environment, she'll adapt to the culture, and there'll be changes. And I think most of these changes will even be attributed to the man. If the men were sensible and think wise, they'll understand that with their wives changing to the new system, new way of life, people will see their wives out there and will even give credit to them. So resulting in violence is never the answer. Just like my other fellow guest
Analyst.
said, there is no need to resort
Who
to
decided the
violence
panelists
at
about?
all.
That is not me. No, because I'm not saying it's okay. So just to make myself clear, I didn't say that was okay to do. I just said some people are rude. But I'm not saying that it's okay for the man to hit the woman. I've never said that, and that's
Oh
not.
no.
No,
That's
no,
not what we're
okay.
saying.
Okay.
That's not what we're saying. I'm just saying there is no need to resort to violence, regardless of what happens, whether the wife is rude or not. There should be a way of settling things amicably.
Okay, my panelists, it's been a very, very lovely. I mean, come on. I wish that we could go on and on and on, but alas, we have to come to a close. But it was a much heated debate, and every person had something to say. And even if you look at the comments, the house, though the house was divided, the panelists were divided, but then you also had people, with the comments. Helen mentioned here, mental health cannot be ignored too. That is
Oh,
true. But that also comes with the
yeah.
chicken or the egg. But that's true. That's one thing. Again, mental health is something that we should also take into consideration. Oh my goodness, guys. Wow, there were fireworks. There were there were fireworks that did not result in violence. I can assure you guys, during the taping of this show, there was no violence, no one was hurt. Okay. Like in the movies or documentaries, they tell you that, disclaimer. During the taping of this show, there was no violence, no one was hurt. Okay. But and the truth of the matter is, domestic violence is on the rise. We need to take it into consideration. Parents, and even just parents, people who are role models. The community really needs to sit up and find a way to deal with this, because it's something that is just. I mean, you look at social media. I'm tired of seeing those pictures. I really am. It's just there's just so much anger. There's so much. I don't know where it's coming from. It's just this killing thing. It's like killing has just become commonplace. It's like people don't think twice anymore. And then now with the advent of social media, we're starting to see pictures, because like Stella had said, it's probably has been going on before. It's not new, but now we have social media, so everybody now just, it's out there for us all to see, and that's why another thing, just to piggyback off what Uwa had said, the church first, he said that from the beginning, when people are having problems, although she said it's starting to change now, thank God for that, because that's what people do. They're like, well, the Bible says you cannot leave your husband, you cannot leave your wife, but this person has come to you for help. It's a cry out for help. Pastors also are getting snapped. They snap and they kill. We know about that pastor, Sylvester Ofori, because I just saw his name. I quickly looked it up. Such a young couple. It seemed everything was working out okay. And then all of a sudden, it's like the girl is like, okay, you know what, this is not working, and I'm not feeling this. And then I guess he felt, look, if I can't have you, nobody else can,
But
so
but anyway, but I heard there are some other stories about it though. I don't know.
that's possible.
Yeah.
Whatever story it is,
Mhm.
killing is not the
It's
answer.
not the answer. Yes, I definitely understand.
So it's still domestic violence. There are the varied reasons, like Helen just mentioned now, mental health, but then again, what is nature versus nurture? But again, guys, I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank my panelists. It's been amazing having you guys on. Oh my God, there were no, it was like people were going at it, so I appreciate that. And then of course, those of you who turned in to be a part of this live streaming, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Please, before you leave, if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram at Ameze Superstar, and also on Twitter, Ameze Superstar. I have a Facebook page. It's called Ameze. I made it easy. It's just the name Ameze. Even AMZ is Ameze. Okay. Right. So please subscribe. Give me thumbs up. Thumbs up helps, as you're watching, being a part of this. Please give thumbs up. And then also make sure you leave comments in the comment section below, because some of you don't know to do that, but I'm letting you know. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely weekend. A new week is coming up. I, from the bottom of my heart, say, mwah, you all have a blessed week. And
Thank
please
you.
be safe.
Thank
Put on
you.
your mask,
Bye.
people. It helps.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you all. Mwah.
Love
Bye.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye, you. Bye.
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 Oh.